on Mr. Baker Mayfield. He goes up against Commanders, has 289 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 5th time in his career where he's thrown for 4 or more touchdowns, finishes a QB2. Pete, I'll get your thoughts here. I know you want to do a little bit of a victory lap here because you did like Baker Mayfield going into this week, but what are your thoughts there, Pete?
Yeah, look, I'm happy for Baker. I'll say that, at least from a fantasy perspective. I mean, he was amazing. I'm just happy to see. Look, I mean, like, we liked Canales, and Canales obviously moves on to Carolina, and we credit Canales for the Geno, rebuilding him up. And then obviously Baker looked good, but Baker still looks good. And Anthony made a good point today on RotoWire about the new OC that came over from the McVay tree that's now with the Buccaneers. And honestly, Baker could be better this year than he was last year. It really wouldn't surprise me. Rookie Jalen McMillan, who's one of my sleeper stashes at wide receiver, he ran the most. He ran the most. He was on the field more than Godwin and Evans, and
he dropped a touchdown too, right?
Yeah, I think
he did. Yeah, and
he caught one. Yeah, and he dropped another one.
Yeah. And look, he didn't blow up, but that's a guy I would stash. So I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, he's good. He's going to be a nice pick, I think.
Yeah, so I'm happy for Baker. I will take my victory lap on that because I did have Baker as my quarterback 10 this week. I had Joe Burrow as my quarterback 22. Joe Burrow finished his quarterback 24, and Baker finished his, I think, quarterback 1 or 2.
He's 2 right now.
Yeah, and there was somebody on Twitter out there that said if you had Joe Burrow and we're starting Baker over Burrow, you're crazy. And I said, I guess put me in the fucking loony bin, because I was saying, I mean, ask Anthony on Sunday up before the slate.
You were all in on Joe Burrow on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. And I luckily switched off.
You got to think outside the box a lot of times. You try to go with the safe shit, and then I mean, you get burnt by that sometimes too. But.
Dude, the Commanders' defense could also just be a fucking gold mine.
Right. Well, they
definitely are. But and that's kind of what I was saying. I know you pushed back on some of that off air, Pete.
Yeah.
But we'll see how some of those. I was going based off of numbers from last year. We'll see how the teams look. Like you mentioned, the Broncos secondary look better, but I like the schedule coming out of the gate here for Baker. I think he's got a nice shot to get up to a nice start.
Yeah, frankly, I was watching that game, and Dan Quinn, they're down 30 to 14. It's 4th and 8 from like their own 45. He punts the ball with like 11 minutes left in the 4th quarter. And then the Bucks go on like an 8-minute drive and score a touchdown. Like, you got to just fucking go for it. You're the fucking Commanders. What the fuck? You just go for the jugular. I mean, you're going to punt and your defense is terrible. So it's just this dumb decision.
Anthony, did you have something else to say? It sounded like you
I would say Baker, 9.6 yards per attempt, 24-30, one of the best games of his career, and all of these Buccaneers receivers played well. Now, Evans shined with obviously 2 touchdowns, 5 of 61 on 6 targets, but the most targeted Buccaneers receiver was Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin was somebody I was fading Mike Evans and drafting Chris Godwin again because of Liam Cohen and all the rumors that they're going to play Godwin almost in that Cooper Kupp role. I bought all into that. 8 of 8 targets for 83 yards and a touchdown. So I'm hoping that this continues, because I think this could be a year where, if this keeps up, maybe both of these, Godwin and Evans, they could be top 15 receivers. I don't think that's a stretch. Yeah. They might have done that one other time with Jameis Winston.
Well, I mentioned it on a show over the summer that last year was like a startling drop as far as Godwin running routes from the slot. And there was a goal for them to put him back in the slot more. Now, I don't know how many of those routes he ran from the slot, but if that's true, and that's could be working out just fine for Chris Godwin. It could be, another good year offensively. We'll see. So, I mean, I'm buying into it.
He had 1,000 yards last year, but the touchdowns, I think, only like 5. So, yeah, he should with him in the slot this year, it should be much better. And, hopefully maybe the offense takes a big step up in general. We'll see.